Good morning, I'm Rowena Crosby.
And I'm Deborah Renner, and we're your co-hosts for this show. Thank you for joining us for the next 17 minutes for your IT show. No, we're not talking information technology. We're talking your Invisible Toolbox, the show that examines the tools that are necessary for working effectively with others.
And today we get to talk about the message and the messenger. And we are fortunate to be joined by a live studio audience, and it's made up of members of the Tero team. And we're going to be talking a little bit later in the program to members of the Tero training team who are going to share their expertise in the Ask the Expert section. If you're following along in the book, we're going to be in the tool in chapter 43 called The Message and the Messenger.
Well, the flagship program that launched Tero and is one of our most highly regarded programs is Impact Speak Your Way to Success. This program focused on something that people who came through it didn't always realize until they took the class how important it was, and that is the delivery of our messages.
That's so true. It was true 25 years ago, it's true today, and we've got thousands of graduates from all around the world who are delighted to know the importance of delivery in message.
And so today we're going to take a look at what makes a message really resonate and get acted upon. And in our Mythbuster segment, we're going to take a look at what people think they should do when they're preparing a presentation, and then maybe they'll want to reconsider, and we have a helpful invisible tool to help with that as well. And as Rose said, we are thrilled to have a lot of delivery experts in the audience today who are going to give you their thoughts around effective delivery.
So let's get started.
Well, it's a sad truth, but a lot of times there are excellent ideas that do not get acted upon.
We've all seen that, and we've also seen substandard ideas that do get acted upon. Why is that?
Well, the ideas aren't just evaluated on their fact. It's actually the person that's communicating the idea that has a lot to do with whether or not that idea will be accepted.
Absolutely. And it all boils down to trust and credibility. We know that we're not likely to trust the message if we don't trust the messenger.
So whether we're selling an idea, a concept, our own credibility, we have to be concerned with developing that trust. And it doesn't come from our words. What do we need to consider then when we're preparing a communication?
And this is the segment of our program that we call Mythbuster, where we take a look at a commonly held belief and examine it and maybe bust a myth.
Well, it's a commonly held belief that when we are preparing a presentation, we are going to focus on our content, and that's where our main focus should be.
And content is important, but it isn't everything. People will only value the content if they value the person delivering it.
Yes, and there's a landmark study that we talk about at Tero by Dr. Albert Morabian. And what he wanted to find out was really the impact that we have on others. And it's really interesting. The content is a piece that's important to consider. But if we don't employ visual factors and vocal factors that are going to also demonstrate for us our credibility, people won't necessarily appreciate our content because they won't appreciate us.
Exactly. And the visual and vocal factors really can make or break the presentation. They can serve to align with the message so it's received as we want, or they can be distracting, and we've all sat in presentations where we're distracted by something that somebody's doing.
Yeah, the messenger has to be the one that appears and sounds the way we want the message to be received. And so today we're going to really focus on the invisible tool that will help us prepare correctly. So it's time to present our invisible tool of the week, and it is, when we're preparing a presentation, focus on delivery.
So the research says that the perception we have and how we appear as a professional is so much more important than the words that we use. Yet what is it that all of us spend our time worrying about when we're making a presentation? Oh my goodness, what am I going to say?
And we have to ensure that the congruence of the credibility of our message as well as how we appear, that it's there.
And so we know credibility doesn't come from facts and logic alone. Our content has to appeal to facts and logic so that people can make sense of it. But really, a more important thing to spend our preparation on is how we're doing the delivery.
So the single most influential factor in getting your idea accepted or being persuasive or being perceived as credible is if you can instill trust. And when you're preparing a presentation, not to just solely focus on the words, but actually focus on the things that will deliver those words. Things like eye contact and body language, making sure our voices sound as if we're enthusiastic and passionate by varying our vocal inflection and our volume. Those are the things that are going to carry that message.
Absolutely. And we've got some tips to share with you on how to do that well in our social media posts.
So now it's time to look at our top social media posts of this week. Every week we post relevant content on interpersonal skills on many social media platforms. We're going to highlight 2 of those today.
And the first one is an article by journalist Jennifer Post. It's in the Business News Daily, and it's got a rather provocative title, so I think I'm allowed to say this on our program. It's an article called 10 Ways to Give a Kick-Ass Business Presentation. There's some great ideas in there. It'll be on all Tero social media platforms today.
Well, real-world rehearsals are the key to presentation success. And when you're rehearsing, it's not just rehearsing the words you're going to say. It's actually rehearsing, how does my voice sound? What is my body saying? What is my body language conveying? And so we have a Forbes article that'll be posted on all social media platforms on Thursday. And it's called The Only Way to Prepare for a Presentation. And preparing in that way, focusing on delivery, can ensure success. Check that out. For those of you who are on Instagram, we are as well. We're so thrilled about it. You can get a sneak peek of a book trailer that we have coming out. We're
coming out, not there yet.
We also have some behind the scenes in terms of the shows and photos and other things out there that you won't find on the other social media platforms. So go out for Instagram on your Invisible Toolbox.
And we're excited today, as we mentioned earlier, to be joined by members of the Tero training team. We're going to ask these experts for their insights on how we can improve our message delivery.
So this is the segment of our program that we call Ask the Experts. And today we're going to talk to this wonderful studio audience of Tero trainers about delivery. These people know a lot about delivery and helping people with the delivery of their presentations. Well, now we've turned the camera around and we're so excited to see this studio audience of our Tero trainers. And I'm going to start with Maureen Berger. Maureen, you've been with us how long now?
3 years.
3 years. Well, you had some words around the message and it being received. Can you share that with our audience?
Well, the one thing that we share during an impact training is that the only message that matters is the message that is received. So it doesn't matter how well you know your topic. If your message is not being perceived or received as credible, then it doesn't matter how well you prepared. And Deb, you touched on the study by Dr. Albert Moravian. And what he found is that 38% of the impact of your communication is on your vocal quality, volume, rate of speech, your tone and inflection, where 55% is based on what people see, your the visual quality, your body language, your eye contact, how you're moving your body, and only 7% is on the content. So when you mentioned that we shouldn't focus as much, we spend so much time focusing on the content, we can see that the greatest impact really comes from what people see and how they hear us.
So we need to focus on that delivery. And it doesn't start just when we're presenting. It starts before that. Wayne Bruns, I want you to weigh in on this. Wayne has been with us how many years now?
3 years too. Thank you, Deb.
3 years as well. And so you were thinking the message doesn't start when you just start delivering the content, the ideas, the logic.
I appreciate the question. Yeah, what we recommend, we think about here at Tero, is that it's so important to go ahead and take a moment when you walk into a room, when you're about to meet someone, give them a nice smile, great eye contact, a nice firm handshake. Look for opportunities to find some common ground even. Maybe there's a lapel on their jacket. You can refer to something you know about that. Or maybe you see a plaque on the wall that gives you an opportunity to try and connect with them in some ways to develop a certain level of trust. As you mentioned earlier, trust is so important. And if you can start establishing that before you even start to do your presentation, before you start communicating with those people, it can make all the difference in the world.
Oh, that's so true. And the trust doesn't start with just the delivery of those ideas. It starts with how they feel about you when they're interacting. Well, I'm going to go now to Carlos Alvarez. Carlos, I think you've been here the longest of anyone in this lineup.
Yes, I have. 17 years, Deb. Yes.
Well, you were thinking about piggybacking really on what Wayne was speaking to, but what is it with regards to millennials? We know that we think about connecting with different generations. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, one of the observations I've made is how much technology is being utilized by millennials. And with so much technology, so much information, they have to connect with the message. And one of the ways we can do that is the rapport we can establish with that individual or individuals. As easy as being able to look at the individual, direct eye contact, being able to shake that hand, being able to make a connection to let them realize this person can be trusted. This person has information that can be beneficial for me. Establishing rapport from the very beginning can add to the feeling that individual may have in reference to you, the messenger, an individual that can be trusted.
And to your message as well. Thank you, Carlos. I'm going to go now to Kyle Hopkins. And Kyle, you were how long have you been with us? You're new to the pack.
That's right, Deb. It's been 1 year.
Okay, well, we're so thrilled you're here. You were talking about millennials as well, but a little bit different spin. Can you share that?
Absolutely. Traditionally, marketing has a simple message, and it's repeated over and over. That does not resonate with millennials. They're looking for a more thoughtful, detailed interaction with the brand. And if a company offers a new service or a new product with the single idea of this will increase our bottom line, millennials will find that out very quickly, especially if the messenger is not seen as being trustworthy.
Really important considerations. Doesn't matter how good our information is, does it, if we can't convey it in a way that we can connect. I'm going to switch now to Michelle Whitty. And Michelle, how long have you been with us at Tero?
I've been associated with Tero 6 years.
Well, we're so glad you're here today. And Michelle, when we were talking about this, you reminded me of a quote that we often share in class that Confucius, we ascribe to Confucius. Can you share that with us?
Yes, I think the quote that is very helpful for me when I share information with clients around the topic of message and messenger is this. Thousands of years ago, he said the following: when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. When I do, I understand. And I think that is as true today for millennials and how they wish to receive their information so that they connect to that information. And I believe that if you think as much about how you're going to deliver the message, less about what that message is, it really has a more engaging outcome for the listeners.
Oh, thanks for sharing that with us. And that just really goes into what I'm going to talk about with Becky Rue Piper Green. And Becky, close to Carlos, how long have you been with Tero?
This is my 12th year with Tero.
Okay. Well, when we're thinking about having people do things, we talk about in classes, in your presentations, to work in something that's kinesthetic. But it doesn't always have to be something physical, does it?
Right. Well, and it goes back to that trust that you mentioned earlier. The number one way to persuade is with trust. Number two is an emotional connection, and a really effective way to do that is going to be through storytelling. So if you can engage with a story that's relevant as well as relatable, then that's going to have the emotional connection as well as build that trust. The bonus is that people remember those stories a lot longer too.
Oh, they really take those images with them,
Yes.
don't they? And the trust just keeps coming out no matter which way we take a look at the focus on delivery. And Gail Williams, and you've been with us
3 years.
3 years
Yes.
now. And Gail, in the work that you do outside of Tero, I know you work a lot with regards to the trust factor in people's interpersonal relationships. Why is it so important?
Trust is so important if you want to convey a message and have people believe what you're saying. And once that trust is broken, it is extremely difficult to get back, which is why it's so important to make sure that you show up in a way from the beginning, in a way that conveys that you are sincere and that the person you're interacting with feels important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gail. And we're going to introduce our newest member of the team. And so our audience might not be, they might have met some of these other trainers that we have, but Candace Johnson is new to us. And Candace, any remarks with regards to delivery that you'd like to make?
I'd like to highlight trust again, just to put a final stamp on that. We may believe a message that is logical, or we may receive a message that is based on emotional feelings with the presenter. But what's really important is the trust. We will go with the message if we trust the person, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it's not logical.
Isn't that something? It's counterintuitive, but it's so true. So focusing on delivery, taking a look at the things that can help us establish trust, and thinking about that across generations, all of this is so important. Thank you to all of you for joining us today.
Thanks for joining us today. If you missed any segment of this program, or if you'd like to share it with others, you'll find the entire program loaded up to Tero's YouTube channel. Please tune in again next Monday morning at 9:03 Central Time, where we're going to examine what we consider to be our favorite chapter in the book. We're often asked about the most important one. We dodge that question. They're all important. But our favorite one is to surprise someone with kindness, and we'll look at that next week.
And we have a really special guest
We do.
that's going to weigh in on that as well. Well, now it's your turn. We welcome your ideas and suggestions. You can email your ideas for future shows. What team interactions do you want us to talk about? What leadership situations? Email those to ideas@yourinvisibletooolbox.com, and we'll incorporate those suggestions into future shows. We also want to encourage you to meet us out there on whatever your favorite social media platform is. And if you haven't subscribed to Tero's YouTube channel, please subscribe by following the link below, and you'll be alerted as to when future shows are going to air. And a thank you again to Kyle Plummer, who is our cameraman and our director.
And a thank you to our Tero team members who joined us today, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And that's a wrap.